The modern definition of a Viking is someone who lived in the Viking era. In the 18th century, it meant a barbarian warrior. In the 11th century, it meant a pirate. And before that, well, Viking was actually an action that someone does. To go on a Viking meant to traverse a Vik in order to trade or raid. Unfortunately for the Norse, they raided Christians of Western Europe, and those Christians wrote everything down. And for the next several hundred years, Vikings were painted in harsh light, which means we have to depend on runestones and archaeology to learn more about them. Though there was writing on runestones, they were simple and sometimes quite cocky. One particular person that popularized runestones is the Danish king Harald Blaatand. He was known for two things: unifying warring factions and introducing Christianity to Scandinavia. His name, translated in modern tongue, is Blue Tooth. We don't quite know for sure how this came about, but it could be because he had a dead tooth, he liked wearing the color blue, or he often had blueberry-stained teeth. How did we get from King Bluetooth to this? Well, Bluetooth was developed in Norway and Sweden in the 90s, and it helped devices communicate with each other, much like the warring factions of the past. But what about the logo? It's actually a combination of his initials. What do Norse graves look like? It sometimes look like nothing at all, because the dead were cremated along with all their belongings. If you're important enough, you'd be buried with 2 live slaves to help serve you in your afterlife. Ain't that a bummer? Once a slave, always a slave. Large upright rocks usually mean grave sites, and men were usually buried with their weapons or artisan tools, and women were buried with house tools and jewelry. The more interesting finds lie under a tumulus or barrow. One specific site was that of Queen Asa. She was buried with weapons, tools, 14 horses, an ox, 3 dogs, and a human. Oh, and her ship. That's right, the whole ship. Speaking of which, ships are one of the key advantages Vikings had that allowed them to explore a large part of Europe. I'll talk more about them in the next video. Bye-bye.